What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to see if your eggs are still good to eat, whether if you forgot to get them out of the nest or you're questioning some store-bought eggs, and how to see if your eggs are fresh, healthy farm eggs or whether or not they're good to eat. So I have around 80 chickens. I get quite a bit of eggs a day, probably like I can get 1 dozen to 3 dozen eggs a day. It varies just depending on what the chickens want to eat or how they lay that specific day. But I get a variety of like tan eggs. Sometimes I get these big, huge double yolkers that are like 3 times the size. I'll get white. I'll get these tan ones. I'll get the dark brown ones. For example, here's a case of eggs I would usually sell. I got like white, I got the tan ones, I got the blue ones, and sometimes I'll have some light blue ones or some dark blue ones, but then I'll have the little lighter white kind of tan, and then I'll have dark brown, and then I have 1 duck, so I'll get 1 duck egg, but we don't eat those. But I'm going to show you how to see if they're still fresh. So first, what you're going to want to get is a bowl that an egg can fit in easily, that you can cover completely with water. So you're going to take your bowl and fill it up about more than halfway, enough to get the egg, probably fit 2 eggs on top of each other. So pretty much just fill the bowl up all the way with really cold water, maybe melt some ice in it, but make sure it's pretty cold water. So guys, I got my bowl filled up pretty much all the way, and I'll use this method sometimes to see if the eggs are fresh, and then sometimes I'll just shake them, and if you can't feel anything inside there, then they're good. If they're you can kind of hear a little swoosh in there, they're still fine. And if they're like something's in there, and that's usually if the embryos developed or the eggs rotten, and you definitely don't want to crack that open on your pan to eat or give them away like I do. So so I have, these are about a week-old eggs, maybe a little bit longer, and this egg is farm fresh from the chickens. Just well, they're all from the chickens. Those are like a week, maybe a little older, and this one was like yesterday, and I just cleaned it. So let's take an egg that was laid about a week ago, put it in the water, and what you want to feel for and to see if your egg's okay. So this one sinks to the bottom, that's good. And if you feel a little bit of lift, like it could float a tiny bit, but it ultimately sinks down, and maybe if it looks kind of like this, like one side dripping down, one side's kind of lifted up, it means your egg's a little 1 to 2 weeks old, and it's still nice to eat. So now I'm going to take my farm fresh egg that was laid yesterday and drop it down, and you're not going to feel it want to lift up at all. It's going to be pretty heavy in the water, and it's going to sink all the way to the bottom. All the egg's going to be down to the bottom, and it's not going to feel light when it's underwater. That's how you know that your egg is just fresh, just a couple days old. So to see the next stages, I don't have any old eggs. The next stage is 2 to 3 weeks old, and I don't have any of those, which is primarily good. But I'm going to show you what it would look like. So I'm going to take one of my eggs, and it will sink to the bottom, but it'll be pointing straight up like this, kind of like it's wanting to float up. There's a little bit that keeps it sink down, and it's straight up and down, just like this, underwater. That means your egg's probably 2 to 3 weeks old, and you want to think about eating it pretty soon so it doesn't go bad. But at this stage, it's still good to eat. So one thing you never want to see is your egg float completely out of the water, just like this, bobbing up at the water. That means your egg is 4 weeks or old, more than a month old. You don't want to eat it. It's probably rotten, and it's not good to eat. You want to just trash that egg. But my eggs are all good, and you can use this method to see if you're just curious about your eggs. Maybe do it every once in a while, or if you don't know if your eggs are still good to eat. But this is a good method to use. And I've had some people ask me about if it's good to eat frozen eggs and that have been frozen outside in the nesting boxes, or if they're somehow frozen in the freezer. They're still good to eat as long as you gotta make sure there's no fractures or cracks in the eggs. And if there is, then your egg is spoiled and you need to throw it away. But if there's no cracks in there, you need to use it pretty fast, a lot faster than you use a normal egg, because it'll expire a lot faster. But it's still good to eat within a week. Frozen eggs are. But it's a good method to use. I'd recommend it, and just a quick use of just shaking it and you don't feel anything. That's a pretty good way to tell if you know your eggs are farm fresh. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video. Click right here to the side to see more videos from my channel.